dug into second base with a leadoff double. Great start to the inning for the Cowgirls' top hitter. 3-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. A great strikeout there, nipping the outer half, and Johnson couldn't reach out and get it.
The one pitch is hit well to left center field. Chisholm to the wall. It is gone. Touch 'em all time. Elauris Montero, his second homer of the year. And the Rockies make it a 5-run first inning.
Late in spring training swing and a fly ball hit pretty well. Deep right center field. That's way back there, and that ball's gone. It's a home run by Michael Massey. His first of the year, and the Royals take a 2-0 lead here in inning number 2.
10 seconds left in game 5. Maxey fires. He's got it. Tie game. 8.1 to play.
Crossover. Left wing. Johnson the home block by Mobley. What a block.
Happy Wednesday morning. Happy May Day to all you out there. Good Wednesday, everybody. It's May the 1st, and we're glad to with you back here on the Morning Blitz on 102.5 U-Rock, AM 730, Fox Sports Tri-State, of course, also online, nwksradio.net, the Rocking M app, and, of course, live streaming, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. We're all over the dang gone place. Hopefully our minds are not, although they usually are most days. So that's just the way it goes here on this show. But glad you're with us on a Wednesday morning, May the 1st, 48 degrees, a cooler day expected today. Temperatures expected to be in the mid-60s for your high. Maybe even a chance of some severe thunderstorms and some weather, especially to the east for our eastern listeners, our further eastern listeners. Certainly going to have a better chance of that. But hope everyone's having a good start to your Wednesday. It's been a little bit of a hectic morning in the Volkmer household. My oldest son spilled his breakfast all over the floor, and I was a little bit late because of that. So that was wonderful. Thanks. So anyway, a little bit behind, little rush this morning. That's one thing about broadcasting, probably the way it is in everything in life. But if you come in rushed, you feel like you're just always playing catch up the entire time. Happens in a broadcast all the time. It happens. But nonetheless, we're here, and glad that you're joining us here on this Wednesday morning. Christian, how are you feeling today?
Doing just fine. I dealt with no spilled anything this morning, so I guess that is the bar. But no, I actually got a decent night's sleep. So that
you weren't
good.
Up too late.
I wasn't up too late. I tend to stay up. I tend to have been staying up late the last couple of weeks because I just have to watch the end of these NBA playoff games. But the Pacers-Bucks one was more or less decided headed into the fourth. So I got to bed nice and early, which was nice.
He says, I am good. I am not going to watch any more of this. By the way, he called the Cavs yesterday, too, by the way, and a block by Evan Mobley.
I didn't call the Knicks, though.
Well, it's all right. That's all right. They probably should have fouled Maxey there before the 3. Anyway, doesn't matter. That's a topic for later time in today's show, where we will get a little bit more NBA talk at the end of the show. We're going to talk some college baseball. Glad to welcome back to the program in a year Eric Sorensen of D1 Baseball. He's a phenomenal interview, and he'll be joining us coming up here in the second segment today. Look forward to visiting with Eric about college baseball as we're about a month away from the postseason in one of my favorite times of the year. And so Eric will stop by and visit with us coming up in the second segment. Also, we've got so much to get to. Yesterday was almost a carbon copy of Monday. So much local sports happening in a 2-day span. I can't tell you how exhausted I am of not only getting ready to cover games, but getting home after the games, and not even getting home late, mind you, but having to stay up and look for all the local sporting events and results that came in. It takes a long time, and that's what happened yesterday with another very busy local sports day. And so I want to get going there. First and foremost, it was a rough day for the most part for a lot of teams. For Goodland softball, Goodland baseball, Colby baseball, it was a bad day. All went 0 for 2. Only Colby softball was able to pick up a win on their senior day as they took down Ulysses yesterday. They were able to sweep the Lady Tigers 11-1 and 11-7, improving to 12-6 overall and 6-4 in league play. And that's now 3 consecutive series that the Lady Eagles have won at this point in time, and they've got two more series. They've got one more series left, and it's against Holcomb, which is, of course, the top team and remains unbeaten in the GWAC coming up next week to finish up the regular season. But Tucker Branham has got that Lady Eagles squad playing very, very well right now. And so Colby Lady Eagles softball with a pair of wins yesterday. Other than that, it was all losses. Colby baseball down at Ulysses was shut out. They lost 10-0, and I think 6-0 was the other score I saw in that.
6-0 on the first game, 10-0 in the second game.
So 10-0 and 6-0 they lose down at Ulysses, which I find to be a little bit of a stunner because I even said on this show yesterday I thought they'd be 3-1 in their last 4 games. Well, I don't know what the story was down at Ulysses, but they lose both those games. They don't score a run, which is shocking. That's the first time. Sorry, it's the second time it's the first time this year they've been completely shut out in a series. It's only the second and third games where they were shut out. They were shut out by Scott City 3-0 back in early April. Other than that, they've scored runs in every single game. So that was a bit of a stunner because it's not like Ulysses is a dominant team. They're a good team, but they're not a dominant team. So I don't know what happened yesterday there down in Ulysses, but the Eagle baseball takes a couple of losses, and with those losses drops themselves down to I think what is 10-6 on the season. Am I right on that? I think I want to double check that.
10-8.
10-8.
They're 10-8, and they are third, like we talked about yesterday. They were a little bit more in danger of dropping than they were of moving up because of how close the teams were behind them, including Cimarron Ingalls, who is now actually ahead of them by a half a game because Cimarron has played fewer games, 2 fewer. They've lost 1 less, so they're at 9-7. Colby's at 10-8. And there are 3 teams, actually, in the Russell Regional that have 9 losses, so only 1 loss behind Colby. So very important that they finish out this season, last couple of games with wins.
Eagles have Sublette left. My guess is I shouldn't be guessing. I guess they'd win. So we'll see. I would assume they're going to win those 2 games against Sublette to get to 12-8 to finish out the regular season. Cimarron Ingalls has got probably, who knows? I mean, they have, at least record-wise, they have 2 of the easier games left with Hugoton and Goodland coming up. If you're just looking at the records, Hugoton hasn't had a good season. Goodland has not had a good season. And so, if you're Cimarron Ingalls, you're probably thinking if we just played our potential, we can probably pick up at least 3 wins, maybe 2. I don't know, 2, at least a minimum 2, probably 3, and you hope for 4 if you're Cimarron Ingalls. So we'll see what it's all look like. But that's the baseball and softball postseason pictures are really starting to solidify right now as we look, and we know where teams are going to be going probably when it's all said and done. But Colby baseball, like I said, a rough day yesterday as they lose both their games. Goodland baseball lost both their games down at Lyman. Lyman is unbeaten. I think they're now 17-0. And Goodland losing in convincing fashion. They lost 12-2 and 11-1, and in both those games over at Lyman. And I know that's a great senior class over there at Lyman. And so I'm not surprised that the Cowboys lost. I'm just continue to be surprised how many runs the Cowboys are giving up and that's the biggest thing. I think how many runs the Cowboys are giving up on the defensive side with the pitching that they had coming back this year with Cole Linton and Kaysen Cedarstrom, Manny Gonzalez. I'm surprised how many runs they have given up. And I know it's not all on the pitchers. I know there's some defensive issues in there mixed as well, but I'm almost shocked that this season has gone the way it has for Goodland baseball. I wish I had an answer. I think the coaches wish they had an answer. I don't think anybody's got an answer on why it has been such a rough season for Goodland baseball. They are 2-12. I want to double check and make sure that's right on that score. Yeah, they're 2-12. 2-12 on the season. So they've got. Sorry,
it's 2-11 on Keisha. Is that not updated?
Because Lyman, they don't have that second score from that Lyman doubleheader.
Gotcha.
I know the score, and so they're 2-12 is where they sit, and they've got 3 series left. They've got Cimarron Ingalls here on Friday. They've got Ulysses a week from yesterday, so in 6 days at Ulysses, and then the following Thursday, I think it's May the 9th, they're going to have 2 games against Ray to finish up the regular season. I mean, it's getting down. You've got 3 series left, and we got to find a way. And the Goodland's got to find a way to be able to go out there and find a way to get some things put together. It's just, it continues to surprise me. It's just, I don't know. It's the pitch. I know the pitch count part has a part to do with that, because you can't go out there and throw your best pitcher day in and day out, but that's part of the rules. I thought Goodland had more depth. I thought they had more depth. And I got a text here from the game, because I was doing softball, so I don't know how those games all went, but I got a text here from one of our listeners saying that Cowboys were winning game 2 1-0, and they pulled Cole at 60 pitches with 8 strikeouts, and then here comes Lyman out and puts up 11 runs. So I don't know. It has to be an extremely frustrating season for Goodland Cowboy baseball in that locker room, in that clubhouse. It's got to be extremely frustrating. Yes, you probably weren't going to have the same type of success that you had last year, graduating the amount of seniors that you did and playing the amount of youth that you had, but it's got to be frustrating to know that you only have 2 wins with still the amount of talent that you have on that roster. It is not lack of talent on that team. Something else is just not clicking this year for Goodland Cowboy baseball, and it's unfortunate. But once again, I will always end this conversation, Christian, with it. The regular season record doesn't matter. It only matters when you get to the regionals.
Yep.
You can have 0 wins or 1 win. It doesn't matter. If you can just put it all together in the regionals and win 3 games, you can still go to the state tournament. That's all that matters. You got to win 3 games when it gets right down to it.
It's true. And especially with lack of depth doesn't mean as much when it's 1 game win and you're in versus out. Obviously, that's not going to reduce the number of errors that GHS commits, but it's definitely going to help a lack of depth pitching, especially when you have the talent that the Cowboys have at the top end of their pitching staff. You have to feel at least a little bit of optimism, obviously, going into the postseason.
So once again, why I said I don't think you want to be the 1 seed or the 2 seed if that's where Goodland has to go for the first round, because you're going to have to face, I said this on the show yesterday, I'll say it again, you'll have to face an all-state caliber pitcher in the first round. And if Goodland plays solid defense behind him and can get a few timely hits, you could be upset. And despite having a great regular season, your season could be done. That could certainly happen for Goodland baseball. That's why you can't have your dauber down on a 2-win season to this point in time. And you might only end up winning 4 or 5 or 6, maybe. I don't know. That might be a stretch. Maybe you might only win 3, 4, or 5 games this year in the regular season, but it all comes down to how you can. I mean, I remember covering a Goodland baseball team, back in 2015, I think it was. They had 4 wins going into the postseason, made it to state. I think they were 4-16. They ended up being 17-16 going into the state tournament because they won 3 games in a row and were able to knock off everybody that they played. So that's all that matters. Just win the 4 games when it matters most. But anyway, rough day for Goodland baseball, Goodland softball. It was a couple of losses for Goodland softball yesterday to unbeaten Holcomb and Corinne Johnson, one of the best pitchers in 3A. It was rough, but they played really good. As Tess Smith said to me after the game, she goes, if I would have told you that we were going to hang around and push Holcomb to complete 7-inning games when they've had, how many games this year, a handful of games ended in short, 5 or 3 innings, I would have probably been talking crazy. No, I mean, the Cowgirls, Allie Cure in particular, was fantastic again. She threw over almost 350 pitches over a 2-day span.
Oh, my goodness. Because she pitched, 12 a couple of days ago?
So she pitched, 12 innings Monday, pitched all 14 innings yesterday. So she had 350 pitches, pretty darn close to that, and went out there and did a great job of limiting some really good Holcomb hitters to minimal damage. I mean, 3 runs in the first game and a 3-0 loss, 5 runs in the second game and a 5-0 loss. She was great. She really was a workhorse out there, did a great job battling for the Cowgirls. And, Goodland's defense had a few errors, some pop flies that should have been caught in the outfield, didn't happen. And, that resulted in some runs that kept those games how they were. So that was rough. And you know what else was a big thing was just, the lack of being able to really hit the ball against Johnson, understandably so. I mean, in the second game, she had a perfect game. 7 innings, perfect game. Didn't have a walk, didn't hit a batter, and no one reached. Struck out 10. But that's Corinne Johnson. It's old hat for her. She's done it so many times. It doesn't really matter that she had a perfect game. So the first game, Goodland had 3 hits. The second game, they had 0. So and didn't get a person on base in that second game.
Is that not a bigger deal that she threw a perfect game?
It's just because I think she's done it before multiple times in her career. This is a young lady that has won 77 games in her career. She has 800 and I think probably, let's see, she had, 10 and 4. So she has 829 strikeouts in her career. 829 strikeouts, Corinne Johnson does. The record in the state is like 880 something. So 829 strikeouts for Corinne Johnson. She is a stud. She is really good. She's had plenty perfect games in her career. Hey, it's the way it is. But I still think, despite getting beat 3-0 and 5-0, pushing them to 7 innings in both games is a real feather in the cap for the Goodland Cowgirls. And Tess Smith post game kind of repeated those remarks. Here's what she had to say.
We just told him out there in the outfield that you guys have no idea how close you are. I said, right now you don't see it, you don't feel it because you just went 0-2 and it's senior night. But you played 2 great ball games today. You're right. You're knocking on a door. You're where you kind of want to be as we're heading into postseason. I know other people will think that I'm crazy because I'm trying to find the positive in 2 losses, but there was so many good things today. If you sat here and watched this game, Allie Keir pitched every bit as well as right there behind Corinne Johnson. Not as many strikeouts, obviously, but Allie did a great job. She kept somebody who's got 21 home runs right now as a senior, Ryan Rodriguez, off the base path, and kept some of their big hitters from doing what they've been doing. So got to just get behind that and keep playing solid defense.
Yeah, solid defense is going to be, and she's right. I don't think they probably know how close they are. They have a pitcher that does a great job, that doesn't throw extremely hard, doesn't have, I think, extreme movement, but does a great job of locating pitches and moving it around the zone to keep hitters off balance. And if the defense can just limit the errors and play good behind her, this Cowgirl softball team's got a great chance of making a postseason run. I think they have a chance of doing that. Now, you'll probably run into Corinne Johnson at some point in time in the postseason. That's going to be hard to overcome, but they've played well. They've played well here down the stretch, and they've got one more series left before the regular season is over this Saturday down at Cimarron Ingalls. That'll be a tough series, but if they play to their potential, they might be able to get a split with Cimarron because they're really good. They're up there in the top 2 of the standings, right behind Holcomb. So we'll see. Like I said, I think it's kind of a tale of 2 deals when you look at Goodland sports on the diamond. You got Goodland baseball that's just really in a rut and struggling, and you got Goodland softball that I think if they just correct a few things, they're going to be just fine. And and once again, if Goodland baseball just puts it all together, I think they have the pieces. They can win. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But there's a look at what happened yesterday on the diamond yesterday. I want to get to a few more things before we get to our first break, and Eric Sorensen joins us next from D1 Baseball. Oakley yesterday, they took second at their own golf invite at Oakley Country Club. Plainsman had a really good showing out of Easton Fink yesterday as he finished in 3rd place with a 77. Dylan Buttigieg of Hill City shot a 74 to lead the way. Him and Noah Fry went 1-2 as Hill City won the Oakley Varsity Invitational with his total score of 332. Oakley finishing in second with 340. Greeley County, Hoxie, St. Francis rounded out the top 5 there yesterday at the Oakley Invitational. They are at the Garden City Mike Smith Invitational in track and field. I tell you, you want to talk about a tough track meet. This was a tough one. Holcomb winning the boys side with 120 points. Garden City in second with 114. Dodge City in a distant 3rd. Scott City 4th. Hugoton 5th. Liberal 6th. Colby coming in 7th and 21 points. Guy Tubbs did finish runner-up in the javelin, only behind, of course, Jackson Rumford. This kid can do it all. And then Goodland only scoring 6 points, and I don't know why that was. I would like to know why that is. Is it because they were a late entry? Because they were not scheduled to come to this track meet.
Oh.
I don't know. They were not. They were scheduled, of course, to be at the Waukene Relays, and that got canceled due to the severe weather last week. And then they got into this tournament or this invitational late. I don't know if because of that, They didn't score many points. Lincoln Cure, I still think, had a really good showing in the 100. But as we visit with Coach Stout for Goodland last weekend, we talked about how I'm putting people in different races that they're not comfortable in to try and push them. And so there was a lot of Goodland athletes that were not in events that they are usually in. And
yeah,
so,
I don't know how they got. There needs to be an explanation on how they got 6, because I'm not sure. Because I'm pretty sure that Lincoln Cure got more than 6 points on his
in the
own.
100.
Well, he got 8th in the 100. He got 2nd in the 200 and 2nd in the 400.
Yeah, I don't know why that's at 6. So I don't know why. Like I said, I don't know if it's because, well, they got in late and they weren't a part of it. I don't know. I don't have any idea. But they probably should have placed a little bit higher than where they were, in my opinion. And at least the numbers would show that.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the women's side, Colby with a good finish. They finished in 3rd on the girls' side. A lot of great throwers for Colby this year. Brent Stanley, Allie Flanagan leading the way there for Colby. Goodland had a good showing as well, finishing in 5th on the women's side there at the very, very difficult Garden City Mike Smith Invitational. That was a tough one. And then a shout out to Hoxie boys winning the 55th annual Oberlin Track Invitational. They bested Holdridge, Nebraska, the Dusters. They bested them for a first place finish there on the boys' side. Oakley did finish top 5 and 5th on the boys' side. And then the women's side, you had Hoxie finishing 3rd, St. Francis in 4th. Norton, though, was your women's champions at the Decatur community of the Oberlin Invitational yesterday in track and field. So there you go. There's a look at the local sports from around the region yesterday. Yes. Also yesterday, interesting day in Major League Baseball for the Royals and the Rockies. The Royals snap a 3-game skid. Home runs from, I was trying to think here. Michael Massey had his first home run, which was great. Also, so they get the win yesterday. Cole Reagans goes a season high, 6 2/3 innings. I think he got hit in the calf. Oh, no, his calf tightened up. He got pulled. He probably would have gone longer, but I think his calf tightened up. And so he got pulled.
9 Ks.
Yeah, he was good. He was really good. And so they take game number 2 of that series 4-1. Rubber match of that game is today at 2:00 Central. And boy, how about the Rockies? Oh, my gosh.
Maybe the most brutal loss we've seen this year from them.
Well, it was like a double whammy. Think about it. How many times have the Rockies gotten down like 5-0 in the first inning this year? So many times. And this time they did it to the opposition against Miami. They were at 5-0 in the first. And it's 5-0 all the way to the 9th. And then give up 5 runs in the bottom of the 9th. It goes to extras. They get a run in the 10th, so they're leading. And then they give up a 2 RBI hit in the bottom of the 7th and lose 7-6 in 10 innings. Absolutely horrible. And once again, a bad stat of the day for the Colorado Rockies as they become the first team since 1900 to trail in each of its first 29 games. Oh, that's brutal. So brutal.
I got nothing. That might be the most brutal. Like Jamal Murray after that game winner. I have no words. There's nothing. That's just brutal. That's just that might be the worst way to go out that we've seen from them this year. Yeah, absolutely brutal. Anyway, Rockies lose game 2 of that Miami series today at 4:40 Mountain Time. There you go. Some quick news from the local sports scene, of course, Major League Baseball. Let's take a break. When we come back, we got to keep things moving. Eric Sorensen of D1 Baseball. He is going to join us next. Man, it's going to be a great conversation with him as we kind of set the table as the postseason is about a month away from college baseball getting rolling. You're listening to the Morning Blitz.
Don't pay retail for your diamond engagement ring or gift. Come to CleanOrigin.com. Founded by a leading family in the diamond industry for more than a century, we're experts in lab-grown diamonds because that's all we do. Clean Origin, the only diamond jewelers who give you a 100-day, no questions asked return on your purchase. Head to CleanOrigin.com or one of our retail stores and mention code Radio10 for 10% off your purchase. That's CleanOrigin.com, code Radio10.
Okay, guys, we got to put our trays up for takeoff.
Where's Dad?
Oh, he's in the back. We could only get 3 seats together.
Daddy has my pillow.
We'll get it later. Can you not put your feet up, please?
Why aren't we going?
We must be in line for takeoff.
Like security?
Well, that was a different line.
I have to go.
We just sat down.
But I have to go.
The seatbelt sign's on.
Why aren't we moving?
Hey, no kicking.
We're just 15th in line for takeoff.
Son of a...
Don't go there. Go on a real vacation. Go RVing. Learn more at GoRVing.com.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning. This is Kate Thompson with the Anderson Trade Group. Today is Wednesday, May 1st. And on the overnight last night, made corn lower half at 4.39, July down 1 at 4.45 3/4, September down 1 at 4.54 3/4, and December corn down 3/4 at 4.16.5, August down 2 3/4 at 11.62 3/4, September down 1 3/4 at 11.55, and November beans down 1 3/4 at 11.57 3/4. Chicago wheat, the July contract up 1 3/4 at 6.05, September up 1 at 6.23 1/4, December up 1/4 at 6.49. Kansas City wheat, the July down 6 3/4 at 6.28.5, September down 7 at 6.41, December down 6.5 at 6.62 1/4. On the stock market this morning, the Dow down 40 at 37,950, the S&P down 13 at 5,053, NASDAQ down 74 at 17,497, gold higher $7.40 an ounce at 2,310, silver up 6 cents an ounce at 26.72, and crude oil down $1.23 a barrel at 80.70. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, into the city office at 913-748-3000.
The weeds are coming! The weeds are coming!
Hey, Paul Revere! This whole midnight ride thing is getting really...
But the HPPD-resistant weeds are coming.
We've got Verdict herbicide.
Verdict herbicide?
Yeah, it's a non-HPPD corn pre-herbicide from BASF.
Oh, well then, get some sleep.
Yeah, will do.
The weeds are coming! Switch to Verdict herbicide! Always read and follow label directions!
There are a lot of inconsistencies when growing soybeans. The soil, the weather, the market. You need something you can count on, like Revitech fungicide from BASF. It consistently outyields other fungicides by up to 9.5 bushels per acre, consistently wins in on-farm head-to-head comparisons, and consistently makes for happy farmers. Revitech fungicide. Visit revxfields.com for full results. Always read and follow label directions. Yield data based on summary of 2019 through 2022 Revex field scale demonstration trials.
Challenge. It's not something you shy from. It's a chance to up your game. Every day brings a new challenge, but with the enhanced Channel Seed brand on your side, you can rise to it. With our top-performing seed, innovative digital tools, and expanded agronomic support, you can turn tomorrow's challenges into your next advantage. Your enhanced Channel Seed brand. Let's rise to the challenge. Learn more at channel.com/rise. Read and follow pesticide label directions, IRM, grain marketing, and other stewardship practices.
You'll be dancing a jig when you discover Burlington Home Store's changes. It's a big renovation with new products for your home, indoors and out. Stop in for your early garden seeds, tools, and lawn and garden equipment. Look at traps designed to keep your garden free from predators. And be sure to buy all your lumber and building supplies, too. Come in today. See the daily renovation and expansion progress at your Burlington Home Store, 111 Hollowell, West Burlington.
Back to the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Once again, welcome back to the Morning Blitz here on this Wednesday, May the 1st. Glad you're joining us, no matter which way you are doing so. We will get to some NBA thoughts and some interesting stories in Major League Baseball. There was a bee situation in Phoenix yesterday, which caused quite a stir. We'll get to that coming up here. And also a local a local basketball star is staying home to play his college basketball. So that was pretty cool last night. We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. So let's talk a little college baseball, though. As everybody knows, one of my favorite times of the year is coming up, the postseason of the college baseball year. And That's coming up here right now. We're pleased to welcome in the show our good friend from D1 Baseball. That would be Eric Sorensen. Eric, thanks again for joining us here today. Tell you what, it's getting down to the nitty-gritty time of the season, my friend. Postseason baseball is about less than a month away.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm glad to promote our sport of college baseball on your show. This is cool.
I tell you, it's been a very interesting season. I want to start off with a topic that I've been wanting to ask you for a couple weeks. And what are your thoughts on midweek baseball games and the amount of teams that have fallen in midweek games, especially ranked teams? And just, it's amazing how teams cannot seem to win in the midweek. And why do you think that has been that issue?
Yeah, why they can't win, I don't quite understand. In fact, just kind of as an example, one of the worst situations has to be when LSU played Southern, a crosstown team in the midweek earlier, a couple weeks ago, and they lost to them somehow. And Southern's RPI is like 290 or something like that. I mean, it's awful. So I don't know. I think, and in fact, in your area, Coach Pete Hughes at Kansas State, he bemoaned the fact that they had to play some midweek games last year that really hurt them late in the season, and because of that, they didn't get an NCAA tournament bid. So midweek games are a weird thing to me because as Coach Hughes explained to me last year, a lot of teams, like, teams that are kind of lower rung, lower mid-major teams, they kind of rely on going on these midweek games, getting some money for going on. It kind of helps their program and helps pay for stuff. So it's a mixed bag. It can really bite you in the butt if you lose some midweek games against lesser competition, especially this time of year when it really seems to matter and it affects your RPI so much.
And that has kind of been an issue for Kansas State this year. They've struggled a little bit in the midweeks. They've challenged themselves. They went to UConn and stuff, and Northeastern. They played some good teams, and then they've struggled a little bit on the weekends. It looked like as if Kansas State starting the year was going to be a top 25, top 30 team, was up there for a little bit. They've kind of faded off, and I don't know if they're going to make the postseason cut this year at all.
Yeah, I'll put it this way, Ross. If they don't stub their toe too bad, I think they've got a good shot because their RPI is at number 31 right now, and they're still going to play some teams that have good RPIs. They play Nebraska tomorrow night. They play this week a huge series with Kansas and also West Virginia in 2 weeks. So they've got some teams that'll help their RPI a little bit. And I just think if they don't crap the rug, I really think they've got a shot at it this year. You're right, though. I think one of the things Coach Hughes went out and did this year during the offseason was said, all right, we're going to start playing. We're going to get on airplanes. We're going to go play at Clemson. We're going to play at Tennessee, at UConn and Northeastern. And those are midweek games, which, hopefully will help them. They only won one of those 4 games, so it's gonna be kind of weird to see how that ends up affecting them in the end. But I think K-State's got a decent shot as long as they just don't go on a cold streak. I think they're going to be okay to get in the NCAA tournament, but they got to keep winning. They can't make it. They can't stub their toe, like I said.
What are your thoughts on the Big 12 as a conference this year? You're talking about K-State making the cut, and they're 8th currently right now in the standings. What do you think of this Big 12 league overall, Eric?
Yeah, it's really good. In fact, just looking at, I think they're the number 3 conference in the country, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, that's one thing I should mention about Kansas State is they got to make sure their conference record is above 500. Right now they're at 10 and 11. But yeah, you just kind of look at it, and let me do the counting here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams, 10 teams, including TCU, that have RPIs that are within the realm of possibility of getting an at-large bid. And so that really says a lot about the conference, and because of it, it'll be interesting to me. In fact, here's a little inside info. I'm going to be covering the Big 12 tournament down in Arlington, Texas, coming here in a few weeks. And that's going to be a really big day. It's going to be really interesting to see how many teams get into the NCAA tournament. The only thing that's kind of on the downside of the Big 12 this year is none of the teams, like the only team that's really close to hosting a regional would probably be Oklahoma, which is number 18 in the RPI right now. But other than that, there's a lot of balance in the Big 12 and a lot of good teams. And it'll be interesting to see if they get 7, 8 teams in the NCAA tournament this year.
We're visiting with Eric Sorensen of D1 Baseball, talking college baseball here this morning. Boy, how about the job by Dan Fitzgerald at Kansas? 25-15. They've got two really nice midweek wins over a solid Nebraska team. They've looked really good. What a turnaround by the former LSU assistant.
Yeah, Dan's a guy that I like a lot. I've known him since he was an assistant at Dallas Baptist under Coach Hefner there at DBU. And I was really excited when he got the job at KU. It's a tough place to win consistently, but man, this is just his second year, and already he's got his team. Now they're the team that is like number 64 in the RPI. They're still not quite to the bubble yet of getting into the NCAA tournament, but boy, they have really played some good baseball, and they're 12-9 in conference play. I think this is one of the better success stories in the country this year. Stumbled early on, I think, in the Big 12, but they've really come on lately. I think they've won like 9 of their last 10 or something like that. Big sweep against Texas Tech this past weekend really put them on the radar as far as nationally. And I think this weekend, and kind of going back to the K-State thing, this weekend series with Kansas State is just going to be so huge because it'll give them a chance to vault up in the RPI if they can win 2 out of 3 or sweep K-State. And K-State's kind of fighting, like I said, they're a losing record right now in the Big 12, so they're kind of fighting their way to get above 500 in conference play. So that's going to be a huge series. It's really great to see both Kansas schools in the Big 12 doing well enough to be part of this postseason talk right now.
No, it absolutely is. As you know, I'm a Nebraska guy, and so I love my Cornhuskers in the Big Ten, and they've had a pretty good year. They've kind of faded a little bit here in the month of April after a great start in March, but that RPI remains very strong. Do you feel like they are in the postseason? Are they going to stay in this postseason if they continue to be on this trend where they play average ball in the midweek and win on the weekends in the Big Ten?
Yeah, that's the key, man. And it'll be a good, these 2 midweek games, staying on the subject, 2 midweek games this week with Creighton and Kansas State will really help their RPI no matter what. But the thing I've loved about Nebraska this year is they have stayed high in the RPI all season long. They played a ton of road games, which they normally do, against some really good teams early on in the season. And they won. I mean, they went on the road. They won a lot of games, and now they're still at 25 in the RPI? Yeah. Now they're going to have some teams that are going to bring their RPI down. I mean, they're going to play Minnesota. They're going to play Michigan State. Both those teams' RPIs are in triple digits. So the key with Nebraska is just keep winning. Like Al Davis would say, just win, baby. If they just can do that, if they don't stub their toe too bad, like losing a series to one of those teams, I think that'll hurt them a little bit. But their RPI is so good right now, even if they drop a few games, I think they're still going to be safe for getting into the NCAA tournament. And the thing about it that I'm impressed with is the Big Ten's pretty good this year, but Nebraska's the best RPI team, and they're the only ones that you can say right now, okay, yes, they're definitely in the big dance come June.
Well, I hope that's the case. It would be really exciting for Husker baseball to get back into the tournament after missing it last year. Once again, Eric Sorensen is our guest from D1 Baseball. For fans who are listening and don't follow college baseball as closely as you do or other people do, what are some of the real top teams that people need to keep their eyes on as we get into the postseason?
Yeah, I think just kind of looking at it from 30,000 feet, once again, you're looking at a lot of ACC teams and a lot of SEC teams at the top. When you're talking about teams that, the field of 8 in Omaha, I mean, right now, if the season ended today, the top what would be 7 teams in the country, RPI wise, are all from the SEC and ACC. So you're going to have teams like Texas A&M and Arkansas have been at the top of the RPI and top of the rankings all season long. Both of them been number 1 in the human rankings for a spell this year. So those are definitely 2. Kentucky's kind of been a team that's kind of come out of nowhere to really excel this year and got off to a good start. And now they're at number 3 in the RPI this week as we speak. So, and another team that people might not realize had kind of fallen on hard times, but is back again, is Florida State. Florida State, I think they missed the NCAA tournament the last few years, had a losing record last year. They're up at 34-9 now. So they've kind of come back full circle. That's a team that everybody recognizes the name Florida State when it comes to college baseball, but I don't think people realize they kind of hit hard times and now they're back again. So that's kind of the thing. I think, just you look down in the southeast of the country and you're seeing a lot of teams, especially in the Carolinas, that have done really well this year, and we'll probably see a good bit of them filling up the 8 spots in Omaha this year.
Are there any dark horses that you like this year? Indiana State's a top 15 RPI team. DBU's up there as well, Dallas Baptist. Are there any other dark horse teams that you think could make a push? And usually there is at least one or two of those teams that does when we get into the postseason.
Yeah, certainly, Ross. Now, the minute you said dark horse, my first thought was to go to near the top of the RPI. You're looking at Indiana State, Dallas Baptist, and I would love to see Dan Hefner's team get to Omaha out of DBU. But there's a couple teams. I live out in Los Angeles now, and a couple teams out here are making real hay with UC Santa Barbara and UC Irvine. Both of them tied atop the Big West right now. Both of them having really good seasons, and both of them can pitch so well. And both of them have a little bit of a history of being, teams that pull the rug out from some of the upper echelon teams when we get into the postseason. So those two teams, because especially Santa Barbara, they've got a pitching rotation that's that's going to be filled with guys who are going to be future major leaguers they've pitched kind of hither and yon this year, but they're kind of starting to come together now. So I think they're certainly a team to watch, and so are the Anteaters of UC Irvine. Those are two teams I really like that are off the beaten path a little bit that might end up surprising people and making a trip to Omaha.
Absolutely love the Anteaters. What a great nickname. Doesn't get much better than that when it comes to nicknames in college baseball. I'll let you go on this. We haven't talked since the big news once again about conference realignment. And you're a West Coast guy with Oregon and Washington and USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten. What's the thought around those 4 programs going to a league where, as we know, it's just baseball is not really a priority when it comes to that conference?
Yeah, I'll say it this way, Ross. And of course, the whole thing with the Pac-12 just depresses me. That's one of the worst things to happen in college sports, if you ask me.
I would agree.
For a conference like that. Yeah, a conference like that going away, that just makes no sense whatsoever. Anyway, but yeah, we know it's football related, and that's the thing that pulls the strings in college sports, obviously. And the other good thing I'll say though is that the Big Ten, you're right, it's not as emphasized as football or basketball for sure, but they have all put in a lot of money into their programs. The Big Ten has really made strides in the past 10 to 15 years, just because they've all built new facilities or expanded on old facilities. So I really like what the Big Ten has done in the last 10 to 15 years as far as just emphasizing the sport a little bit more. And I think with these teams coming in, it's gonna infuse a little bit more emphasis on the sport itself. I think so. Because Oregon, Washington, UCLA, they've all been to the College World Series in the last few. I take it back, not Oregon, but Washington, UCLA have. Oregon has gotten painfully close a couple times in super regionals, and USC is a traditional power who, they've fallen on the hard times a little bit, but I think they're going to bounce back. They're building a new baseball stadium on campus that's going to help that a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be weird. I mean, obviously, it's going to be a lot of teams traveling out west early in the season to take care of better weather out here. And then, vice versa. Some of these teams will go back out east a little bit more as the season goes on. So it's going to be weird. I think it's going to help the Big Ten a little bit as far as with having some of these teams coming in. It's just, to me, it just makes me shake my head though. I really wish this wasn't happening in our sport, in our level of sports in college athletics right now. But it is what it is, and I think the Big Ten's going to help. It's going to help the Big Ten, maybe just take another slight step up in the years ahead.
Well, we'll see. I know it's a tough deal, especially for the West Coast guys like yourself. Once again, that's Eric Sorensen of D1 Baseball. Eric, it's always great to visit, my friend. Let's do it again in a couple weeks, all right?
You got it, Ross. Thanks for sharing the airwaves, man.
Great stuff there again from Eric Sorensen of D1 Baseball. We'll take a quick break, come back, and wrap things up with some NBA talk and some interesting stories from baseball in the walk-off. That's next here on the Morning Blitz.
Do you have a goal of saving more money this year? We know that it can be hard to put aside money for savings, especially in today's economy, but there is a way to save without ever missing a beat. In 2023, FNB Bank invites you to try our automatic transfers feature. This is a great way to automate your savings and stick to your goals while being budget friendly. This also pairs nicely with our Savings Builder account. Come see me, Paige Sneathen, to learn more. FNB Bank, member FDIC.
Grow your business with Miller Construction Services, LLC in Goodland. They specialize in commercial construction and are your local independent authorized builder for Chief Buildings. Get your planning and project underway now. Call Matt at 785-899-5231. Whatever your commercial needs are, contact Miller Construction Services, licensed and bonded general contractors. Visit millercs.com. millercs.com.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery ingestion and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
It's the Morning Blitz.
What is this, amateur hour?
Weekday mornings from 7 to 8 Mountain, 8 to 9 Central on 102.5 U Rock and the Rocking M app.
Great conversation with Eric Sorensen. That guy is a phenomenal interview. He really has a lot of great knowledge. I would love to meet him. He just looks like, that's what you call a dude. I'd love to visit with him. He just seems like, I've never met him in person. In this business, you know, when you try to get guests on, you kind of message him on Twitter like, hey, would you mind joining my show? Yeah, sure. And then you visit with him and like, this guy's a dude. We could sit and have beers and watch baseball for hours upon hours. It'd be great. Anyway, NBA playoffs yesterday, some excitement yesterday. Christian correctly predicted that the Cavs would beat the Magic. They did by one, a great block by Evan Mobley. Tyrese Maxey hits a massive three to send it to overtime, and then the Sixers find a way to get a victory, get that to now 3-2 in the series. What are some other big standouts from last? Of course, the Bucks steamroll the Pacers in that to make that a 3-2 series, I believe. I think I'm right on that. So 3-2 series, still in lead of Indiana. So nobody advanced last night, but a couple of very entertaining games.
Yeah, so the Cavaliers was a little bit surprising because of how well the Magic had dominated in Game 3 and 4 of that series. Cavs won the first two, Magic won the second two, so essentially everyone has held serve at home in that series. The Sixers, I don't think the end of that game was certainly surprising. Maxey scored 7 points in 13 seconds or 17 seconds to force OT, a wild sequence. Yes, the Knicks should have fouled, but I don't think that's a super surprising result just because the Knicks and the Sixers, despite it being 3-1 in favor of the Knicks going into last night's series, was just so hard fought. All 4 games heading into last night and now all 5 games in this series were very, very tight, down to the final few moments of the fourth quarter. So I'm not super surprised that the Sixers finally were able to close one out in the late moments. Bucks, Pacers, I know I sort of called it yesterday at the end of the show, but the result is surprising nonetheless. They have had no Giannis all series, have the Bucks. They have had Dame Lillard out for the last 2 games now, and the number of players they can turn to for big buckets or consistent buckets is razor thin. It's essentially Chris Middleton and Bobby Portis. And they needed what they got last night, which is huge games from both of those guys, Middleton and Giannis Middleton and Portis both with 29-point triple-doubles. They were great, and I have a very, very big Pacers fan who's a close friend of mine. He was actually at the Game 4 game when the Pacers went up 3-1, and I texted him right afterwards, you guys can still lose this series. We went back and forth about the fact that all they have to do is survive Game 5. They could potentially, in the next 2 games, get Giannis and Dame back and come back from 3-1.
We'll see what happens on that. That will be Thursday is when the Pacers and the Bucks pick things up. So do the Sixers and the Knicks. Tonight, it's game number 5 between Miami and Boston with Boston leading that series 2-1, and we're tied at 2 apiece between Dallas and the Clippers. That game is tonight. Quick predictions on those?
Realistically, I want Miami to keep surviving, but they just don't have enough bucket getters. I think Boston closes it out. LA Dallas is going to be incredibly fun. Most games in that series have been so far. I think it stays that way. My gut says Dallas, but I do think the Clippers are able to pull this one out.
A 3-run walk-off home run. A game-winning walk-off with a walk-off.
His second walk-off hit of the season.
In walk-off fashion. That baby's go.
So it was an interesting night last night in Major League Baseball away from the Royals and the Rockies. What happened in Arizona was hilarious. The game was delayed for over a good hour because a swarm of bees was sitting on top of the protective netting, and they had to get this colony of bees removed. So they call in the local exterminator guy. He shows up, gets up in his big bee outfit, goes up there, fogs the bees, and then sucks them away with a vacuum and gets them all gone. Then he walks with the bee outfit out to the mound and throws out the first pitch. Then, after that, he's invited up to the broadcast booth for Arizona and signs their wall of fame because
that's baseball right there, baby.
That was so good. You know what else is baseball? Was the Mets yesterday at Citi Field. They set a record at Citi Field with $44,269 sold on Dollar Dog Night. 44,000 hot dogs. Wow. Now that's baseball right there. That's baseball. Great stuff. All right, that'll do it for us today. Thank you so much for tuning in, no matter which way you did so. For Christian Peck-Dimit, I'm Ross Volkmer. We'll see you tomorrow in 23 hours. It's been the Morning Blitz.